Car accidents happen every day and are the leading cause of injury and death in the United States. So what are your obligations and rights if you're involved in a car accident? That's what we're here to talk about tonight on Lawyers on the Line. I'm Sean Quinn, a partner at Falsani, Balmer, Peterson, Quinn Beyer, and this evening's moderator. I'm pleased to welcome tonight's panelists: Bob Falsani of Falsani, Balmer, Peterson, Quinn Beyer, Jim Balmer of Falsani, Balmer, Peterson, Quinn Beyer, and Rob Barnes of not Falsani, Balmer, Peterson, Quinn Beyer, but McCarthy and Barnes. We are ready to take your questions. Call us locally at 218-788-2844 or call our toll-free line, 1-877-307-8762. Now let's get started. A car accident happens. Rob, does somebody have to call the police?
Technically, only if the damage to the vehicles exceeds, $500 or $1,000. My recommendation is, unless it's really, really minor, always call. We see, all of us see situations where people think an accident's minor, nothing much has happened. They don't call the police, and then all of the lawyers who wind up involved later all wish that they had. So unless it's really, really minor, always call.
Okay. Is there anything else somebody should do after a collision, Jim?
Well, my view is that unless, same proviso that Rob put, unless you're really certain you're not injured and you feel fine, I really think it's a very good idea to be checked immediately by medical people. Go to a local urgent care clinic, just have them check you out. As Rob pointed out, within a day or two or three, you can frequently discover that when you thought you were fine and the adrenaline was rushing and you were excited so you didn't notice the pain, the next day you've got pain and people are starting to ask questions. Well, if you were hurt in the crash, why didn't you go to see somebody? So the best thing is get checked out just to be sure.
If you're a witness, there and you're not hurt but your friend's hurt, or if you're hurt but not that bad so you can't talk to somebody or whatever, I'd like to have the 600 witnesses that we lost out on various cases that somebody said, and by the way, that witness fully supported my position, but I didn't write their name down. So get that person's name would be really helpful.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
With the advent of cell phones, one of the things that I've seen a lot of my clients do is take pictures of the scene and record on the cell phone the names of some of the people that Bob just mentioned. And with a smartphone that most people seem to have these days, there's just no excuse for not getting some of the information Bob talked about.
The other reason to call the police is that they document things that drivers don't think about. They document times, sometimes they document distances, they document witnesses, they document involved insurance companies. They take care of things that drivers who've just been in an accident don't think about, and little details that can become very important later on.
But when Joe Smo has to go pick up his kid and he comes to the scene and he says, geez, I saw that it happened, but they don't wait around for the police to get there, get Joe Smo's name.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, and of course you're going to exchange information with the other driver, name, insurance company, things like that.
Absolutely.
So a couple days later, insurance company calls, hey, we'd like to talk to you. What should the person do, Bob?
In most cases, I say go ahead and talk to them. Just don't lie, and usually you're okay. A lot of times it's your own company that starts out talking to you. There are a few tips that people need to know, which is to make sure that they cover everything that's injured, because sometimes the thing that hurts the most is what they talk about, but something else hurts a little, but then the hurt the most at the scene or early turns into minor, and the other thing turns into major.
Sure. Jim?
A couple of points. One, there's a law in Minnesota that says that any statement given by an injured person within 30 days of the collision is presumed invalid. So if they want to take your statement, as Bob said, I don't have a problem with that, but the statement might get tossed out later. That's usually the people taking the statement, the insurer's problem, not yours. The other thing is that the typical person regardless of how he came to be injured, unlike popular myth and lore, generally likes to tell himself, I'm going to get better. So he might have a sore leg or a sore knee, and he's thinking, I can work through this. It's just like when I was in college. And they talk themselves into believing they're going to get fined, so they're tempted not to tell the insurer about this. Well, that's exactly the kind of thing Bob just said you should not do. If you've got a sore leg, tell them about it. If it gets well, fine. But if you haven't told them, people are going to raise their eyebrows when you talk about it later.
And Sean, my thought is talk to your own insurance company. You have an obligation to do that. I would be very leery about communications with the other driver's insurer until you've got a better handle on what's going on.
I agree with Rob.
Okay. So somebody follows your advice, Jim. They go to the doctors right away, or maybe they don't go to the doctors right away, but within a matter of a few days they do. Who's going to pay the medical bills? Bob?
Well, you get no fault, assuming you've insured your vehicle or you're in an insured vehicle.
What does that mean, no fault?
Minnesota in 1975, when I had practiced law for 2 years, passed the no-fault law.
So you're really old.
Yeah. And what no fault, it gave and took away. It gave some certain kinds of benefits and a certain small amount of medical and wage loss benefits in return for taking your constitutional rights away to get compensation for your pain and suffering, unless you had a certain threshold level of severity.
Okay. Well,
And
let's
that's
talk
still
about
the law.
All right. Well, let's talk about the bills first. So
Yeah.
the no-fault insurance company is going to pay your bills.
Right.
And that's your own insurance company?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's usually $20,000 in wage and $20,000 in medical. The wage you can collect $500 a week now. It used to be $250 cap. Now it's $500, and the medical up to $20,000, which nowadays can go real fast.
Okay. So Jim, somebody's in this collision. They're getting their bills paid by the no-fault insurer, and but they're off work too. So what happens then? And this is the wage loss that Bob's talking about?
Yeah, the no-fault carrier needs certain information. If they're going to pay your wages, they need information like your social security number, who your employer is, so you have to provide that as a condition to collecting the wages from your own carrier. And they'll only pay up to $500 unless you've elected special coverages. So if you're thinking about getting additional wage loss benefits above $500 a week, you can do that, but you've got to talk to your agent about it and make sure you've selected that and paid the premium for it. Then if you get well and you get back to work, great, you're fine. You can go on with your life. You don't have to worry about suing anybody or being dragged into a courtroom. That was the original idea behind no-fault insurance, to eliminate some cases from having to be litigated in a courtroom by making sure anybody, regardless of fault, injured in a collision could get their medical bills and wage loss paid. So that was the plan.
All right. So Rob, does the insurance company just automatically start paying this, provided that the person gives the information about their employer like Jim talked about?
Typically, the answer to that is yes. If someone's been in an accident, they go to urgent care or emergency care, they have treatment for a week or two. It's pretty rare that that gets contested, because the standard is whether the care is reasonable, necessary, and related to the accident. Pretty tough to convince anybody that treatment the day of the accident is not related or reasonable. Even if someone's not hurt, most people think it's pretty reasonable to get checked out. But farther down the line, the longer the treatment goes on, the more there's going to be scrutiny of whether it is necessary and accident related.
So it's like workers' comp. In other words, it's supposed to be a no-fault system, but all it is a doctor's examination for an insurance company away from a battle.
Okay. Yeah. I'm glad we're not giving opinions.
Just the facts.
I testified at a legislative committee about this, and the whole thing they were talking about is how no-fault carriers don't pay bills like they're supposed to and fight all these claims. And so I did have fun.
Yeah. Well, what about somebody, they don't have a job necessarily, but they can't mow the lawn, they can't take care of their kids, they were going to paint their house this summer and now they can't do that. I mean, what happens to those people, Rob?
Under no fault, under your own insurance coverage, there's a provision for things called replacement services or homemaker replacement services. So the types of things you talked about can be covered.
Okay. And so you can get paid money from the insurance company so you can hire somebody to do that kind of stuff.
Yep, if I'm hurt in an accident and I'm normally the one who cuts my own grass and takes care of my own snow and I have to hire someone to do that, if the accident has caused my need to hire somebody, there is coverage for that.
Okay. All right, now we got some interesting calls already. First caller, if I'm running an errand in my car and during the workday and I get into a car accident, what insurance comes to play? So I'm assuming that they're talking about a work errand. So Jim, you reacted viscerally here.
Yeah. Really a good question. If the errand is considered by the workers' compensation laws to not be a departure from the normal workday, then it's covered by workers' compensation as being in the course and scope of employment. The further away from your normal duties the errand becomes, the less likely that is. And if it's found to be not in the normal course of your duties, then it's covered by no fault. Now, typically, the test is sort of a geographical one. If I'm on my way to my home directly to the courthouse and I stop at the bakery on the way and it's right on the way to the courthouse and I get in a car wreck while I'm parking the car, probably in the course and scope of employment. On the other hand, if I detour up to the Harbor City Kennels up on the Jean Duluth Road to drop the dog off, probably no.
How about 3 hours in the bar?
3 hours in a... Well, there have been cases where a guy spent several hours in a bar in South St. Paul and it was held to be in the course and scope of employment. So that's a good one. But anyway...
Don't count on that one.
No, well,
If it's a work duty in some fashion,
yeah.
then it's work comp. Otherwise, it's car accident.
Yeah.
All right. So another question, Bob. I give somebody permission to drive my car and they cause an accident.
You're liable under Minnesota law.
Am I in trouble?
Yes.
Am I personally in trouble? Or
yes. You've got insurance, but maybe. You know.
Okay.
Okay.
So my insurance is going to cover me.
Let's say you have pretty darn good insurance, and your son's teenage friend comes over and says, you know, I need to use your car, Mr. Falsani, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they go out and run over a neurosurgeon. Well, and I may not have enough insurance, you know what I mean? And then I'm stuck for that kid's actions.
Okay. All right. Now, Rob. Go ahead.
The teenager's insurance might stack on top of the car's insurance, and I don't know if that'll get you all the way to paying the claim the neurosurgeon asserts, but it'll get you a long ways towards it. I myself carry a $2 million umbrella, so I could probably cover most claims, but not all.
Yeah.
All right.
There'll be people dashing in front of your car tonight.
I'll be dashing in front of your car too.
Yeah. First one there gets the first $2 million. Yeah. Rob, this is a good one. Person in an accident scene, the at-fault person, wanted very badly just to get away. And they say, look, here's some money. Just let's not call the police. Is that okay?
I suppose it's okay. It's a bad idea for you to say yes. It kind of gets back to where we were at the start. No matter how badly the person wants to get away or pay you $500, call the police, get the thing documented. You don't know what you've got until you know what you've got. And most of the time at the scene, adrenaline is going, people aren't thinking clearly. That's not the time to make the decision to settle your case.
Right.
Now, Rob does insurance defense, and one of the companies that he represents sometimes gets there while the blood is still flowing and gets the case settled. So that's the insurance company version of the same thing.
But again,
that's a tad overstated. But
If an insurance company says, let's settle up a week after the accident.
Yes, right.
that's what he's talking about.
Bad idea?
Yeah.
yes, bad idea.
Bad idea.
Wait until you know how injured you are or not.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I tend to speak a little figuratively sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Another caller. I was in a collision. I started getting letters from lawyers 2 days later. How did they know? How did they do that?
They seek out these reports. Our firm has a policy not to do that. And when this was made legal, we were not happy about it. Still haven't sent my first letter out like that, and I don't plan on, I'd be retiring before I do that, so.
Okay.
But what they do is they sweep the law enforcement agencies across the state. they look at the police records, and if they see one that looks like it could be a likely claim, they just send a form letter to the injured party or his family and solicit business. And the people are at a time where they're under great stress. They don't know where to turn or what to do. So sometimes they wind up hiring the wrong law firm.
Rob, this is a question that maybe you called in. I have a college-age child currently living away from home. Is my kid under my insurance policy, my car insurance policy?
Yes.
Okay. For how long?
Usually until they're done with school.
Okay. Okay. All right. So
You know, that had that one. And of course, one of the problems is when the kid is taking one course and dropping out and going back, and it has to be just at the wrong spot there, usually, you know.
always.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, you brought up the guy drinking in the bar in St. Paul, I think.
Yes.
South St. Paul.
South St. Paul, excuse me. I got into a car crash when I was drunk. I'm getting sued. Does my intoxication cause trouble with my insurance?
No.
Okay. Your insurance company's still going to protect you.
Yes.
Okay.
I've got one caveat to that.
Go ahead.
He's right. If you're drunk and you cause an accident and somebody gets hurt and they sue you, your auto insurance still covers you, they still defend you, etc. For compensatory damages, for claims made against you to compensate a victim, claims for pain and suffering, medical expense, wage loss, things we've talked about. Where the intoxication could be a big problem for you is if someone brings, in addition to a compensatory claim, they bring a punitive damages claim. Damages meant just to punish you for illegal behavior or reckless behavior. Auto insurance tends not to cover punitive damages.
Okay.
And there's a special drunk driving punitive damages statute as well, so that there's a real focus on that as a good reason for punitive damages.
Okay. And so if you do something like that, you will be personally responsible for any of those punitive damages, not your insurance company.
Punitive, the punitive side of it only.
Okay.
And
Jim?
you cannot discharge that debt in bankruptcy.
So it's there
So
forever.
it's there for the rest of your life.
Another reason not to drunk drive.
Right, yeah. People think, well, I'll just file for bankruptcy. That'll fix them. Nope, it will not fix them. It'll fix you.
All right. So Jim, another caller, I'm being sued by a lady whose medical bills alone are more than my insurance coverage. Mm-hmm. How am I protected?
Well, the insurer will try its level best to persuade the claimant to resolve the claim for the policy limits of the man's insurance coverage. But if they're unsuccessful in that, then the insurer will defend you in court and will do its level best to hold the verdict down. But if there's a verdict that part of which is in excess of your policy limits, the carrier will pay its share, up to its policy limits, and then you are liable for the rest. Now, if it's not for punitive damages, then you can file for bankruptcy, and you could probably get all of it discharged in bankruptcy court. Okay. But that's generally the way it goes.
All right. Now, what about the injured
if you've
person?
got I'm going to say
go ahead,
this,
Bob.
okay? I think so many people nowadays are really underinsured.
Yeah.
And getting a really decent liability policy, so you got $250 or $500 or even $1 million or an umbrella, it's not that expensive to protect yourself. And if you've got a lake cabin and a house, you only have one homestead that's exempt. And that means that lake cabin is sitting out there, just somebody's going to own that, and it isn't going to be you. Rob and I have a case now where the people had pretty good insurance, it was substantial, but they let their umbrella lapse, and it's a very big case, and he's representing State Farm, and I'm representing the person for the over part,
Okay.
And it's scary, because there's real bullets flying here.
Okay.
The
So
people
what,
are well off.
So, and it's interesting you mentioned all this, Bob, because somebody called. How much automobile insurance should somebody carry? So, Rob, what do you think?
I'm not here to sell insurance.
No, you're not.
However, my recommendation, if it's affordable, is get enough auto insurance so that you are eligible to buy an umbrella policy, as Jim talked about. For most companies, it's usually about $250,000 worth of coverage. Then you get the cheapest insurance in the world and the best insurance for about another $120.
Yeah.
You can get $1 million umbrella. So the difference between carrying a $100,000 auto policy and a $250,000 policy, which will get you up to the umbrella, might be 100, 200, I don't know what it is. Even if it's $300 a year, I'd say if it's affordable, it's worth it to get you up to the umbrella stage.
And check your property damage limits. People get $25,000 property damage limits. There's hardly a new car sold in the Duluth area that doesn't cost more than 25 G's.
Okay, so Jim, we talked about
What
this.
about a
This is
Yugo?
protecting. This is people protecting themselves. What about the person that got hurt by the guy who doesn't have enough insurance? What are they going to do? How are they going to collect that money that is dischargeable in bankruptcy?
By law, all auto insurance policies sold in Minnesota have underinsured motorist coverage. That means that if you blast through the limits of coverage available on the at-fault driver, you turn back to your own carrier and then get the difference between the value of your claim and the amount of coverage that the at-fault driver had from your own company in your underinsured motorist limits coverages, assuming, of course, you bought enough.
Okay. So
And
when
again,
you,
that's cheap stuff.
okay. So when you're buying your liability policy, you should be looking at your underinsurance policy too.
Absolutely. And I have an endorsement on my $2 million umbrella for underinsured motorist coverage.
So
Pretty nice coverage.
yeah. I got a caller. Since the state requires insurance, are there repercussions for insurers to drop customers? Rob, you represent insurers. Are you aware of that? I mean, does an insurer have to provide coverage to somebody?
The short answer is no, they don't. I mean, if I walk into any insurance agency office and they look up my history and I've got, 6 accidents, 3 DWIs, 10 claims, they don't have to write me. And
So how does somebody in Minnesota, where we have to buy insurance, how does somebody get that when they have all those problems?
there are insurers who specialize in the high-risk cases, and the reality is they charge a fortune. I mean, you can get in coverage, it's just more expensive.
And you end up with this risk policy with low limits at high price.
Right.
Really, what a wonderful deal.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and anybody can close their eyes and think of, maybe 4 or 5 of the biggest auto insurers, names that have been mentioned here, but it's smaller companies you've never heard of that will sell
Sure.
to real high-risk drivers.
Okay, let's go through a couple more quick questions if we can. Do all insurance companies in the state of Minnesota have a deductible? Bob, do you know? I assume they're talking about the property damage.
I don't know.
I think it's a creature of contract. You can
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
you can have a 0 deductible and
Yeah.
you're going to pay more, or you can have a high deductible and you'll pay less.
I think that's
It
correct.
usually refers to your property damage on your collision coverage on your own vehicle.
Okay.
And you can buy 0 deductible coverage if you're willing to pay for it.
All right, Bob, you live out in the country. Caller, I had a 300-pound bear bouncing on my car in my driveway. Who pays for the damage to my car?
I think that'd be covered by the comprehensive, just like if you had a fire in your car, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Comprehensive?
Rob, you think so?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good at bear questions.
You have no claim against the DNR.
Well, that's worth commenting on. Hit a deer, you can't sue the state.
No, but if somebody's horse or cow gets you, then you've got a claim against the owner.
Right. And we've run into those before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Not
Yeah, right,
literally.
yeah.
Yeah. Bob, how has technology impacted automobile collision litigation? We got dash cams and cell phones and drones in the sky.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, the amount of investigative material out there that sometimes can impinge on a case. Cases that you wouldn't even have known who did it, with these hit and run cases and stuff. And there's cams all over the place, and there's a camera at the school and the gas station and this and that, and all of a sudden you know who did it.
And the airbag has a control module that will tell you how fast the vehicle was traveling before the brakes were applied. So if the airbags had to deploy in the crash, you can get somebody in there, it'll tell you how fast the guy was going. I have a case exactly like that. The guy swears he was not going over 50. Well, he was going 75.
And I just had a case I dropped because of that, because, you know, there was a he said, she said, and then we've got the information, and then it was like, okay, we're not going forward with this case.
And we're finding more and more actual video of actual accidents through surveillance cameras. Lots of casino surveillance cameras. I had a case in Hinckley where they caught an accident out on Highway 48.
Yeah.
In perfect picture, like you were watching it in high def, and sometimes it helps us, sometimes it doesn't, but at least we all know what happened.
Okay, well, it looks like that's all the time we have. I want to thank our panelists for sharing their knowledge tonight. Remember, you can watch this show again online at www.wdse.org or on the Falsani, Balmer, Peterson, Quinn and Beyer website. Join us again next week when we will answer your questions about Social Security disability benefits. I'm Sean Quinn. Good night.